Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. And today we're going to talk about the masterpiece. I mean, one of the great masterpieces of 20th century neoclassical music by Spanish composer. He's a composer, Ernesto Halffter. Now, Halffter was a pupil of Manuel de Falla. He lived from 1905 to 1989, and like his mentor, de Falla, or Falla, if you want to take out the de, which you can, he wrote very little music, a couple of dozen pieces. Among them, when he was fairly young, the Sinfonietta. Now, the Sinfonietta is not so yetta. It's about 35 minutes long. It's a good size. It's a work in four movements that's completely unique in many, many ways. And, we're going to play some samples because you've got to hear it. It is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, gorgeous and remarkable in its sonority and its approach to form and melody. It's so, so wonderful. People who heard it are absolutely in love with it. If you know it, you know how bewitching it is. And of course, the first thing you want to do is go hear everything else by Halffter. Then you find out there's like nothing. There's practically nothing. There's the other major orchestral work is the Rapsodia Portuguesa. I think that's what it's called, something like that. Yes, Rapsodia Portuguesa for piano and orchestra, which is like 15 minutes long and sounds kind of like Ravel's G major and left-hand concertos. And that's really almost it. He wrote a bunch of film scores. He wrote chamber music, songs, shorter works. He wrote a couple sacred works, short sacred works. And that was basically it. He was the brother of Rudolfo Halffter, who was another composer. Do not get them confused. There's Rudolfo and Ernesto. We're talking about Ernesto. He was the younger brother, Ernesto was. And he was the uncle of Cristobal Halffter, who was much later and who was one of the major composers of the Spanish avant-garde squeak bloop school of music, which has since been basically discredited. And so we don't know if we're going to be hearing much of Cristobal. The guy we love is Ernesto. And the one work, and he's a one-shot wonder, that he wrote was the Sinfonietta. Now, the Sinfonietta is scored quite remarkably. It's really a big concerto grosso. I think that's really what it is in four movements. It has solos for violin, cello, and double bass, plus all of the woodwinds. I mean, the woodwinds all chirp and hang out and do cuckoo calls, and it's amazing, how everybody is constantly coming up with little bits of solo in a fabulously kaleidoscopic sort of orchestration. It's prismatic, it's kaleidoscopic. It has just these fragments of color that are constantly changing. It's quite remarkable, not least of which are marvelous parts for two snare drums, which are tuned in disparate pitches. So you get this constant sort of rhythmic whirling and buzzing in the background. It's just fabulous. And now I have permission to use sound samples from the best recording of it, which is this one on CPO. It features the Radio Symphony Orchestra of Frankfurt under Muhai Tang, conductor, and it is just bloody marvelous. There have been maybe half a dozen recordings of it. Ataulfo Argenta recorded one a zillion years ago. It's sort of still around. I've seen it on Amazon, and I tried to order it so that I could, show it to you here. But it was canceled as if it never existed. Maybe it will show up. I don't know. And there was one on Ensayo, and there was one with Victor Pablo Perez and the Gran Canaria Orchestra, which is not very good. It's way, way, way too slow in the slow movement. It was eventually reissued by Harmonia Mundi, and it had a couple of those little sacred works attached to it. And then there is also this one with Adrian Leeper and the Orchestra of Gran Canaria. And that means Perez must have been with the Tenerife Orchestra then, if this is Gran Canaria. But I don't know, it may have been both, it doesn't matter. This is also very good, but the CPO, this one comes with the Rhapsodia Portuguesa and also the De Equis Symphonique, the 2 symphonic sketches. And if you get the CPO, you basically have all the Halffter orchestra music you can get, except for the Guitar Concerto, which is a lovely work, which you don't find here. This has, 3 short pieces and the symphonic sketches in the Sinfonietta. It's not as good a value Halffter-wise as the CPO. So the one you have to get, and I'm going to tell you right now and up front, is CPO. This one, conducted by Mu Hai Tang. It's definitely the one to get, as you will hear in a moment. So let's start with just the bit of the first movement, so you get a sense of just this fabulous orchestration, this constant interplay of color and rhythm. It's just irresistible. Give it a listen. Now, the slow movement is religious music. It's sacred music. It is the Spanish neoclassical equivalent in 8 minutes of a Bruckner adagio. I'm not kidding. It has that spiritual quality, and it rises to an ecstatic climax that's absolutely fabulous. And when you listen to it, you know it's religious music. It has all of those, plagal cadences and sacred harmony things that we come to expect. It's a chorale at the end. It's glorious, just a glorious, sincere, at first very hushed and very prayerful, and then it grows with increasing exaltation. I'm going to play you a little bit of the sort of mini climax that happens before the big one, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Here, listen to this. That's the adagio. The third movement is a minuet, a wonderful, wonderful minuet led off by the snare drum. We love it. We just love it. And I just have to play you a bit of it so you get a sense of what it sounds like. Here's the opening volley of the third movement minuet. And the fourth movement, we don't have to play. I mean, it returns essentially to the spirit of the opening movement, although with different tunes and things. And you get a sense of just what a wonderful, wonderful work this is. It's such a mind-blowing disappointment that Halffter didn't write 10 or 12 more of them, because he was clearly a masterful composer. He spent about 20 years of his life trying to complete Falla's Atlantida, which he did twice. He completed it, then he revised it for 10 years, then he completed it again. It's been recorded a couple of times. Nobody especially cares about Atlantida. Frubeck de Burgos made a recording of it on EMI, of the unrevised version, and then the revised version came out. It was on Valois, or one of those French labels. You kind of wish that Halffter had spent his time writing more sinfoniettas, but it doesn't matter. The point is, you must get Halffter's Sinfonietta. You can download it, you can buy it, but listen to it. It's a joy. It's such a joy and a glorious, glorious work. One of the masterpieces of 20th century orchestral music from any place, in any genre, from any country. And it's unique. It's one of a kind, which I guess makes it all the more precious, wouldn't you say? So keep on listening, folks. Enjoy Halffter's Sinfonietta. It is a gift, a treasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.